Hello, Hawks fans. It was an exciting loss, albeit an honourable one on the weekend as we went down to the D's in our penultimate game of 2023. We've got the Dockers to come in round 24. We're going to talk about all of that, plus some pretty big stuff that's going on during the week as well at Hawkland. We can't wait to get into all of it. We're only on YouTube tonight, so fingers crossed we're going to get a bunch of you from Facebook over. She's been a nightmare to get us on tonight, but we're here. We're happy to be here. I'm Daz. This is Mitch. Great man. We're rocking the paraphernalia tonight, mate. We got the hoodie. We got the beanie. We got the scarf. We got the Guernsey between us. How you doing, great man?
Very well. Yeah, like you said, mate. Yeah, definitely in the game at points on Sunday, especially for Melbourne, who's obviously one of the best teams in the comp. Bit frustrating watching that last quarter, sort of falling into their game plan a bit, hacking it out of the forward 50, but we'll discuss that. It's good to be here. Obviously, only this week and next week this week of our season to go. And then obviously we're into the off-season stuff. So, good to be here and get the colours on, mate.
Absolutely, mate. Got to rock that brown and gold with pride. We've got some comments coming in. Keep them coming through tonight, guys. Make my job extremely difficult. We love it when the Hawks fans are able to do that. But I thought it was almost the perfect result, mate. If you had told me on Wednesday or even doing the Oppo analysis during the week that no Lewis, no Ryan, no Wingard, then no Newcomb, how do you think we'll go? I'll be honest with you, mate. I would have taken 27 points. And which sounds weird to say. It's not something we like endorsing here at Talking Hawks, losing, but you got to deal with what you got sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm the same, mate. I was on the train on the way in, and my brother, Mad Hawk supporter as well, he gave me a ring and said, "Hey, Newcomb's out," and I was like, "Oh no." I thought we were going to struggle anyway, and then once Newcomb was out, my question was, how are we going to score against a really competitive D's back line? And yeah, when he rang me and said Newcomb's out, I thought, oh no, this, I think we were due for a toweling. We've had a good month. This might be another bit of a not poor performance, but a little bit of a slacking. But no, we hung in there. They always felt like they were in control of the game, but we were competitive for probably 75 to 80% of that game without really challenging for the actual win. But look, they're all, aside from Carlton, they're almost the form team in the comp at the moment. So to challenge them for a good 80% of the game was a big tick for me.
Yeah, I thought it was a big tick as well. And Tommy's enjoying the pairing we've got this evening, mate. It's all the way back to the Cranbourne High School days. My goodness, how we even got a little bit of schoolwork done is extraordinary. But again,
we didn't.
G'day, I should say, to Riley and Brooke, and you're absolutely right, mate. If we're in the actual same home room, we would have just come back with NAs in our reports.
Yeah, I think one or two classes together, and that was definitely enough, especially if you ask the teachers.
Yeah, exactly right.
Don't put them together.
Yeah, I've always said, thank goodness my parents stopped believing in parent-teacher interviews because they just got told the same thing. Reece does enough, doesn't do his homework, and doesn't shut up. Yeah, that pretty much sums it up quite nicely.
Exactly right.
We've got to get to the big topic, mate, of course, being the big Finn man, not only getting under Oliver's skin, starting the fracas. Nick's gone with the Finn Reaper, which is just fantastic and one of our favourites. In terms of a nickname, the Finn Reaper, I like it. But, went to Oliver and absolutely shut him down, mate. It was extraordinarily well done by the Finn.
Yeah, another big scalp, and one of the footy pages that I follow on Instagram absolutely love. I think it's AFL Central. They absolutely love tweeting Clary's more than 5 clearances every week. He's got some incredible streak, and he had 4 this week. Just another little thing that Finn's done is restrict him to less than 5 clearances and break that little stat. But yeah, I was actually. I was at the game. I was up in level 4 in general ad with a mate, and he was a Melbourne supporter. And the first thing that I said to him was, "Who's Finn going to play on?" And obviously, Oliver's generally the sort of the safest bet there. And I was actually unaware the little scuffle that started at quarter time was because Oliver was getting frustrated until after the game. And one of my mates said to me, "Yeah, that's what started it." And I was like, "Oh, okay, well, love to see that." Huge scalp again. He's had an awesome month and just signed a 2-year deal, which is a bit of reward for effort for him because, he's bringing back the tag, mate.
Mate, absolutely is, and I did like a couple of people have brought it up already that Simon Goodwin being like
Yeah.
a Finns player who doesn't want the footy, and let's pretend that's true for a minute. So,
Yeah,
it,
and got one less
it,
touch than him, and yeah, like I think Oliver got 14 and Finn got 13, and Oliver got probably 6 or 7 of those in the last quarter when the tag was released. So exactly, you're right, you're spot on the money there, mate. Like, if we can, as a team, if we can shut down one of their best players or the best player or a player who we think is really damaging, mate, good on us. Like,
yeah, and if
like
it is
mate,
21
there's
v
more. Yeah,
21. Yeah, and if it is
yeah,
21 v 21 and they cancel each other out, and this is of no offense to Finn whatsoever, if we're only losing Finn, but they're losing Clayton Oliver, that 21 v 21 becomes a hell of a lot more advantageous to us.
yeah, exactly right. Exactly right. I mean, I messaged you personally, Daz. I said, as I get older, I agree more and more with Kane Corns. I think he was on the money, and obviously, he going to stick up for taggers. But yeah, like, mate, if we can take you out of the game, we're going to. Like, simple as that.
Mate, I'm with you. I do have to give if we don't endorse violence on Talking Hawks, but for the fracas, we know fracas aren't violent in footy these days, mate. But if I did have to give out an MVP of that scuffle at quarter time, it had to be Denver ruffling Ollie's hair and calling him a sook. That's the pest in Denver. That whatever you think of him as a footballer, that's got unsociable hawk written all over it, and that's a gold star for me. That's outstanding work.
Yeah, and we love that. And like you said, we don't endorse violence, but I love a little scuffle just on the breaks.
Yeah.
Just when it's not going anywhere, but just a little bit of feeling in it, especially on like a quarter time, half time, even the 3/4 time. Just before the break, a bit of feeling. It's great. As long as no one's going too far, and we don't want to see anyone get hurt, obviously. But it's just little jumper pulling and a little bit argy bargy in there. So.
Yeah, we don't endorse anything like the 84 or even the 1990 grand final. So something more attuned to what happened on the weekend is what we want. If Brock throwing his support behind Finn, which we like, and speaking of Denver, mate, flew for everything on the weekend. I thought his first half was as competitive and strong as I've seen from Big Denver. Loved his goal from 50. Well, I don't know what it was like at the game. You'll be able to give us some insight there. And a little bit quieter in the second half as the quality of ball kind of went down for the Hawks. But how did you see his performance as someone that was there?
Yeah, definitely the first half, obviously, yeah, a real standout. I thought he looked good. Gives you, just tries his heart out. And, potentially if that's a role that they see going forward for him, he's literally being played in the forward line. Another year to develop that craft and, give his all is something that's exciting. I thought he was really good in that first half. And yeah, as you said, he did die off in the second, but we sort of did, the supply started running out. And I think at one point it was nearly 70% to 30% time in their forward half, as opposed to us getting the 30%. We sort of fell into hack kicks out of our defensive 50. And then obviously you got May, Lever, all that back there. Who want that, they want you to quickly kick it out, and then it's obviously going back in. So our forwards had limited supply, but yeah, I think, yeah, he's definitely a project back forward.
He is, and I like the comparison to Trent Crode there that Jacob's gone with. Loved Crody. Crody's career can be summed up in two spectrums, hitting the post in that 0-1 prelim, but he did also try to knock out Joel Selwood on a broken foot. So that's one way to forgive yourself, getting involved in the fracas. Maybe knockout was a little bit of excessive. But another player who's getting a bit of love, mate, I'll go to Kerry here. Great game for Connor Nash. I don't know, again, what it was like at the game, mate. You can let me know. I thought his impact on the eye test was good, and then the numbers were just great. Outstanding by the Irishman.
Yeah, well, I mean, he had a lot of impact. I was probably a little bit surprised to see the numbers, just me personally. Obviously, I'm up in level 4, so you don't get as good a feel as what you may normally would down in the members or whatever. But no, I thought he was good. Certainly my most improved player for the year. He is, and Amon as well. Like, obviously, Amon being the first year in the Hawks colours. But, mate, he's just going superb. We love to see it. Big-bodied midfielder, and geez, yeah, he's tough around the ball.
And and I know there is one player that is popping up in these comments that I am just waiting for a little bit, because I have to find a level of smugness that is even beyond what I normally sit down with fans. I will get to him.
Might be hard to find for you, Dazzling.
I'm
Might
not
be hard to
ignoring,
find.
but it's not easy to find some self-congratulation in my house, mate, let me tell you. But what I really liked from the Hawks, mate, is that we proved, and if I can take a little bit of a dig against another club here, I will. Shout out to the Western Bulldogs here, who couldn't do this against West Coast, is a good system will beat good players any day of the week. Mate, the Dogs lost to the Eagles. Imagine if you had have taken Libber out, which they did. We'll call Libber out and Newcomb, right? Wingard, so Waitman, a forward presence. Brandon Ryan, take out one of their talls. Mate, they would have lost to West Coast by 10 goals.
Absolutely.
This team with an elite list couldn't get over the last team on the ladder. We had such an inexperienced
playing for finals
team.
too. That's a big asterisk there. Like playing for finals. Yeah. It's one thing to lose to them in round 10. You're trying to play your way into finals with probably on paper one of the best lists in the comp. There's not too many, it stacks up against most, and you're losing to, no disrespect to West Coast here, but let's be honest, they are one of the worst teams to ever play the game.
Yeah, and never forget that, yes, they are, and North are worse. So, moving on, 12 players under 50 games, which is just extraordinary, and I think we had 9 guys in the side who were drafted in the 2020s. Which is just crazy and crazy good.
Yeah, it's huge. Like at the start of the year when obviously Sam Mitchell's been saying this a lot, that he believes the core of the next premiership team is on our list. And at the start of the year, I was a little bit skeptical. I could see signs. But in terms of saying, how much of that next premiership team is on the list, I was a little bit like, I'm just not sure. Definitely some good ones there. But mate, he's made me an absolute 100%, 110% believer this year, especially with our last month. We play a brand of footy that's going to stack up in finals when that time comes. And who else is going to know that really better than Sam Mitchell in all the finals that he played? Really, really excited. I'm just really glad that I'm seeing some love for Blake Hardwick. I saw a post. I
was going to get to it next, yeah, for sure. So,
I saw Keep going, guys.
No, you go. No, you go, mate.
Just saying, I saw a post during the week, or maybe who's, had the most sort of underrated year, and Isaac Quaynor was one of them, and Hardwick was the other, and obviously I resoundingly went for Hardwick. He has got to be one of the most underrated footballers in the overall AFL media. I think at Hawthorn, he's just one of those clubmen that is always incredibly highly rated, and we can't undersell how important he is. But in terms of the wider AFL landscape, he is as good a small defender, lockdown defender, as you've got in the comp.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. I'm not here to promote anything from outside of Talking Hawks, but on my channel, mate, I put who of these 3 players has had the best year: Isaac Quaynor, Blake Hardwick, or Nick Newman. Because you've got your dimmers kind of both, your shutdown and your rebounder, depending on the role. I see Quaynor as a little bit of both, pretty similar to Hardwick. Now, Newman's not a lockdown defender, as we know, but a rebounder. But what astounded me was the amount of non-Hawthorn fans that went, Blake Hardwick is not in the same stratosphere. And it's like, oh, you just don't watch footy then. Okay, good to know. Because this bloke does not get embarrassed ever, not once, and it's extraordinary.
And regularly empties his pockets with the best small forward or damaging forward in the opposition. Regularly just pulls him out of his pockets, mate, at the end of the game.
Yeah, he's had to turn the sprinklers on because Cody Waitman's still in his front yard dimmer. He can't go anywhere without him, but I like this. I like this a lot. Could we get Stewie Dew to replace Chris Newman if he goes? Yes. If there's one thing in footy I hate, mate, and believe me, there's many, it is that coaches that get the chop, which, look, happens to 90% of them. You've got to be an almightily legacy coach to go out on your terms.
Yep.
Kind of get maligned with the fact that they wouldn't make good assistants, but you've got to be a good assistant to get a senior job. I don't understand this kind of stigma that goes around assistant coaches. If Stewie Dew wanted to come back to Hawthorn, mate, I'll drive up to Queensland myself, park him in my front seat, and drive him back. And by the time we got back, there might be a restraining order, but we would have covered everything in the 08 grand final. But, mate, get it done. And if Chrissy Newman does get the job, mate, with blessing, another Hawthorn disciple getting a senior job like so many have in the past.
Yeah, well, I mean, you think it would go both ways, wouldn't you, mate? If you're a good assistant coach that's good enough to stand out for a senior coaching job, you would think the other way. Hey, this guy's had senior coaching experience. He's going to be invaluable to our assistant coaching team. You would think it goes both ways, but somehow, maybe not. But I'd love to have him, as you would.
Yeah, I absolutely would. Hardwick, unsung hero, absolutely. I'm going to go to Jacob here, mate, because he's asking a question, an overarching question that I'd kind of prepared to ask anyway. So, who do we think comes in this week? Is going to be pretty a hard question to answer without the full injury list. But the bottom thing there, surely some guys from Box Hill get selected, like Cooper Stevens, Cam McKenzie, etc. Because it is the last game of the year, we can't move on the ladder. Are you a fan of throwing some guys in there to see what they've got? Do you think that's real, or do you keep this best 22 chemistry and try and really go for that 8th win of the year against the Dockers? We're not suggesting anything like tanking, but do you put your best side out there, or do you experiment a little now that nothing can really change in the grand scheme of things?
Yeah, look, we've got room to do that, mate. I'm not saying, just all of a sudden change the side dramatically, but, if you do want to try some things, now's the time to do it. You talk about pre-seasons, match sim and preparation for next year, but nothing's like it than playing, in the actual season. And yes, it's the last round. We can't go anywhere on the ladder. The only difference is whether we finish with 7 or 8 wins. And look, just to say, if we play a few of the kids doesn't mean that we're not necessarily going to get the 8th win. So, yeah, if the coaches see something in a few of those young players that they might want to try it for next year, absolutely, try it. If there's a few players that are a little bit sore, whatever it is, yeah, of course, not doing anything too crazy, but like, what's it going to cost us? It's really going to cost us nothing. So, try a few things, see how they work.
Yeah, no, I don't mind. I'm actually coming around to it. If you had asked me this on Monday, I would have been steadfast in saying no, absolutely not. But the more I think about it, there is just a little bit of, why not? Let's see. What have we got to lose, really?
I was right about to say, what is there to lose, really? Like, I think we're a good chance of beating Freo anyway. We, at the GE last round, like, we'll get into that bit. We'll get into that a bit later. But what's there to lose? If we lose the game, is it really? That doesn't really matter. No.
Yeah, no, I agree in a big, big way. There's not too many guys that I can think of that bringing in would cost them a VFL final spot either, because they've gone through their wild card week, or they will be this week, I should say. Silly thing to happen. Don't bring him into the AFL. Joey Montagna, I'm telling you, he's leading the charge, mate, and it's cricket's behind him. Okay, this isn't Hawthorn, but I just want to say this, mate. Can you imagine after the weekend, Essendon or the Western Bulldogs could play off for a final spot? Imagine losing by 20 goals in round 23 and potentially could play finals.
Yeah.
Stop it. And also, how good was that?
Yeah, well, Essendon not going to make finals. Geelong definitely out of finals. As a Hawk supporter, if we're not contending for finals, that's all I want. Especially Geelong missing. Kerry, you're right. We would like to finish the season with a win and a good chance too. Freo in Melbourne, that's a good chance. Nick, just above that, C-Mac is a gun. Love it. He's had a really, really, really good, especially the last half of the year. I love him, mate. He's shown a lot.
The Doveton Flyer, absolutely. And I'll tell you what, we don't have traditional half forwards. Dylan Moore and Connor McDonald, mate, are working back to the defensive, even 30 almost, in order to get the ball down. The downside to that is if they both do it at once, there is no one at the feet of the long kick down the line. Maybe something to work on in the off-season. But, hey, we're not the finished product now. We haven't peaked yet. But, all right, we have to talk about one man. And this is where the self-congratulation comes in, and I'm only going to say one sentence.
And you're the best at it too, by the way.
Because absolutely I am. Dermy at his house has apparently got a picture of himself on the roof, and I'm leaning towards adopting that style for me, mate. I think it's just two legends staring at each other should be the way to go. But when we did the post-draft show, I think that you were on with me that night. I think I was at the radio station. Yeah. I reckon it was.
We were. Yes, you're right.
Speaking of a night that almost caused technical difficulties, my goodness me. As soon as we brought up the kid that went in the 30s, mate, Henry Hustwaite, steal of the draft, was what we said. Hey, mate, aren't we just sitting back with the Champers just going, yes, please? How good did he look? The big Henry H.
Exactly, mate. I'll give credit to you there. You're the draft guru, and I remember sitting there and you were absolutely wrapped. So, it was really good to see him perform. Obviously, he kicked 2 goals, I think. First one was a ripper, second one as well. So he looks like we've just got a knack for finding just gems in the draft. And off one game, you'd think, hey, we've done it again. Mate, love it.
And I'll tell you what I also loved, mate, was his interview afterwards going, I love that I got to experience the level I know I've got to get to. So if 15 touches at 80% is his floor, I'm buying whatever comes next. My goodness.
Because the lid's off with one game in, the lid's off.
Mate, lid was off at my joint when he kicked his first. My goodness. I was going bunter, which is absolutely awesome.
I did like this.
So apologies.
Sorry, continue.
No, I'm just saying apologies to everyone who did get to Henry before I brought it up, but we needed a sound stage for this. My goodness.
He was just wanting to build into it, guys, build a bit of suspense, make everyone wait, and then just go bang. So, he's awesome. I really love seeing there was a viewing party with a few of his mates that played footy with him and grew up with him, watching him kick. I think they were on like a silly Sunday sort of thing, and they were watching him kick his first goal, and that was awesome to see. All the boys get around him, and obviously, virtually.
Mum and dad in the crowd as well. Mum was going crazy as well, which was great, mate. It just brings more theatre to the footy. We need
my Melbourne mate did say to me when he kicked his first, he goes, "Who's that?" And I said, "Mate, Henry Hustwaite. He's going to be a legend." So, it was good.
Mate, Pendlebury 2.0, but I didn't say that. Sean, good question. There's one that lives in my office that you're actually looking at on the screen. My head barely stops wobbling at the best of times, let me tell you. My goodness me. But looking forward to seeing what's come. A lot of love for Cooper Stevens here, which is nice. Good to see. I think the concussion start of the year's had some injury problems, mate. I'm probably more of a fan of keeping him on ice. He's not going anywhere, I don't think. Be pretty stiff to come in for a year and give him the flick. So, but I can see a guy like Brandon Ryan potentially coming back. Cam McKenzie would be nice to see him through a midfield role, but how do you disturb a midfield that's already missing the man who might be taking home the Peter Crimmins medal in our man Jai?
Yeah, certainly going to be one of the favourites and probably going to maybe next to Sicily poll our most Brownlow votes. Come Brownlow night, legend. Hard to get into the midfield, as you say. We'll see what happens there. I have liked the look of him, but it's probably the hardest position to get into, or hardest part of the ground to get into at Hawthorn at the moment.
Yep, absolutely. I'm with this. Josh Weddle's tank, mate. We're in round 23. He's a first-year player, and considering this is the most stacked rising star race I've seen, I wouldn't be surprised if he actually didn't get a vote at all. I'd like to see one of the judges maybe reward him for such a good year, but with the likes of Ashcroft, Sheasel, Owens, Amiss, Michael Annie, the list can even go on from there when you get to Weddle. But mate, he's still floating on the grass. It's extraordinary.
Yeah, certainly one of our most exciting prospects in a while. Been fantastic. Obviously, been a really good year for young. In terms of rising star and whatnot. Been a good year. And look, mate, I love him. He's already one of my favorite players, especially down back.
And speaking of rising star, mate, Henry Hustwaite's going to be eligible next year. He's going to be under 21 with under 10 years, 10 games of experience.
We're calling it now. Daz is literally going to have his own bobblehead next year if he's close to winning that. I'll buy it for you.
Oh, mate, I'm getting it before that. But let me tell you, I'll just be setting up the live stream and the thing's just going to be wobbling 24 hours straight. My goodness. But Jambo here brings up a really good point, mate. And I've mentioned this a couple of times, and I know Hawks fans as well. I think Mark McKenzie is probably the most underrated person, I should say, at the Hawks. He's drafting the last 3 years, you could argue, has been awesome. Yes, I know guys like Denver and Josh Waters, 2 top 10 picks, are a little bit maligned amongst fans at the moment, mate. But Sam Mitchell's got to develop, the coaches have got to do their bit. But if you're not getting the right kids in the door, mate, we're not going anywhere, and I think he's done an outstanding job as the head of our recruiting department.
Yeah, absolutely. If you get a good draft pick, there's going at 6 or 2, 4, whatever. There's no guarantee that you're going to be an absolute gun. Yes, the evidence supports that you're a handy player, but that doesn't mean anything. We've seen high picks become champion players, and then we've seen number 1, number 2, 3 picks who haven't necessarily lived up to the expectations. But as you said, we've had a good couple of years at the draft, and hopefully a couple more to come. And like I said, when you talk about the core of our next premiership team, if a lot of that's on the list and we're only adding to that through the draft, then mate, like it's exciting times. And one that, some moves that we made sort of last year in that pundits were saying, we're tanking and, we're going to be wooden spooners.
We're awfully bad at that.
All of a sudden, 9-10 months later, it's like, well, hang on, they're one of the most exciting teams in the comp. They've got a great list, and they're accelerating their rebuild. So it changes pretty quickly. Stick to your guns. Keep building a team that, is full of talent, and we'll get some of it right. We'll get some of it wrong.
Yeah, absolutely, we will. And one of my favourite stats in footy, mate, and only me could think of even researching this, but I wanted to have a look at what top 10 pick throughout AFL history has averaged the least amount of games. Because I'm with you. Because number one picks are very rarely like the best player in the draft, etc., etc. And I found this out. Pick sixes throughout the entire AFL draft history have averaged less games than not only every pick before it, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but every pick onwards until pick 21. So even pick 19s are averaging more AFL games than pick sixes. It's the weirdest curse. I'm not putting it on Denver, but mate, that just blew me away. It's extraordinary the way that teams can maybe get it right, get it wrong, but that sort of mid-10s pick is something that a lot of clubs are struggling to go with, either best talent or best player available or best fit or something like that, and that's what separates the good recruiters from the poor ones.
Yeah, so what you're telling me is you don't want to go at pick 6.
Apparently, yes.
Or you don't want pick 6 because whoever you pick's going to probably not.
Just trade it on draft night.
Yeah. We'll give you pick 6. We'll take pick 7.
Yeah, pick 10 next year's first. Done. Sorted.
Yeah, fair. No, that's a good stat though, Daz. Expect nothing less from the draft guru.
No, mate, it's a problem. I really should leave the house more, let's be honest. A huge shout out. Someone did comment it before. I apologise. That Will Day and John Newcomb is vice captain, by the way, making the 22 under 22 squad. Fan voted, and the Hawthorn fans got out in droves, mate. And even if it wasn't fan voted, having those two in there quite comfortably is the way to go. And a lot of pundits out there recognise those two boys, except for Jared Healy, who didn't have Will Day for reasons I don't understand. But come on, Jared, you're better than that. But due reward for two absolute stars, mate.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. Hit the nail right on the head there. They're two of our best young players, and I think John Newcomb's a future Brownlow medalist, and mate, Will Day might not be far behind him with the way he's tracking. So, love it. Absolutely.
Yep, I like it. And Brooke here, got to give some love to the Warpedo. Absolutely. Jeezy's come good. I mean, who would have thought? Make him put the only him in that sort of position in the side, and he thrives. It happened once, he won a best and fairest. It's happened twice, and he's probably going to be on the podium, if not top 5.
Oh, definitely top 5 at least. Look, if it wasn't for Connor Nash, he'd probably be my most improved. Mainly, we've seen, streaks of this from Warple before. He's won a Peter Crimmins before, and, we were all sort of hoping that he got back to this, and he has now. So that's good. But aside from Nash, he would probably be my most improved. Really good to see. I think he's getting, obviously, we know we get a bit frustrated with sometimes how he uses the ball. Can be a little bit throw on the boot, but I do think he's getting better at that. Racks up a heap of the footy, and I think he's getting more damaging. And all we need him to do is just tick a few of those boxes in terms of how he uses it, and all of a sudden, mate, he's a top young player again, and I'm really glad to see that he's found some form.
Absolutely. Before we get into the Freo game, we're going to go through a few more of these comments. Not off topic, mate. Hawthorn related. Riley, Hawks are into Asava. Now, Mitch, I know how you felt, and I'm going to keep this PG, when a certain wingman from the Hawks travelled down to the Cats. I also know how you felt when not only you won the flag, but the norm. How would you feel about a Geelong player? And I know Cooper Stevens qualifies here, Hawthorn fans, but a regular 22 player for Geelong putting on the brown and gold. Your initial thoughts. Don't worry about the fact that it's Asava, just Geelong player first, and we'll get to Asava second.
No.
It's that simple, okay?
Yeah. Oh, you told me not to use profanity, so I've used a one-word answer instead.
Okay, yeah, awesome. Yeah, I feel like you had a two-word answer on your
Unless
mind,
it's
but you
Jeremy
stuck with one.
Cameron. Unless it's Jeremy Cameron.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Go forth and anyway. All right, moving on. Asava for me would be a bridge just until Will McCabe's ready, whatever that's worth, I don't know. But I'm probably more on the side of no at this point. I think Ben Mackay's going to go to either Essendon or Sydney, so I don't think we're going to go after him there. Tommy, you're speaking my language, son. Absolutely. If I had a realistic dream, and by realistic dream I mean not giving up pick 3, yes, Mitch Georgiades to the Hawks, so I'm firmly on that bandwagon.
And you have said that for quite some time. I'll back you up there.
Smithy as well. It's Nick, you're not stealing my thunder here, mate. You can jump on board the train that I've built. Hustwaite is Pendles 2.0. Let me tell you, the left foot, the handball, the fact that time slows down. My goodness.
Well, look, in our Talking Hawks, sorry, Daz. In our Talking Hawks chat, where we talk about about the games and whatnot, if you had to search Pendlebury on when do we play Sunday, you'd honestly would have thought that he played for Hawthorn. Daz was just Pendlebury. Every time anyone said anything about HH, Pendlebury. So it was good to see.
He had 15 for us on the weekend, Pendles. He was very good. Looked younger too. He looked fresh. Fresh in the anyway, I'm going to move on this joke. Absolutely. Who are we thinking about taking with their first pick in this year's draft? Godric, the answer is one of two. So even for you non-draft nuffies out there, it'll either be Nick Watson, who's trained with Box Hill, or Xavier Dersma. It's one of them. The reason why I'm reasonably confident with that is twofold. One, the players that are definitely going to go before them, and B, there are not many of those top 5 quality talents behind them, in my opinion. So it's one of those. Nick Watson's your more small forward. Xavier Dersma is more your taller, athletic, third tall maybe, but can rotate through the midfield a little bit. A more athletic version of Jack Gunson, in my opinion. So it'll be one of those two boys. Watch those with ease. A bit more love and hate for the Radicalia pickup. Nick Watson or Dersma looks to be the answers here, mate. But we could be saying goodbye to a Hawk, mate. Tyler Brockman trade rumours are heating up before we get into this Fremantle game. It would be sad to see Brocky go. He is the only one on our list with kids, one of the younger boys. We understand that. The family pool, mate, I don't blame him at all. I'm not one of these that'll go around beating someone for it. But at the end of the day, West Coast are going to have to strike a deal with us. But how do you feel about Brocky, mate? Whether it's for the Hawks or the Eagles, are you a buyer of Brocky's stock?
I think he's shown enough. I understand the go home factor, and look, I would be sad to lose him, but like I said, I do understand it. I think he's shown enough for a club, especially for a club like West Coast, that they could be, pretty excited of getting him over. Would love to see him a little bit more at Hawthorn if that was the case, but look, the go home factor is obviously pretty big, and look, I'd just like to see him do well, obviously, potentially at Hawthorn, but if that's at West Coast, good on him. If you want to go home, you want to go home at the end of the day.
Yep, I'm totally with you. And I think it'll be something in the future. I think whatever deals we try to get done for this year are just going to soak up points for Will McCabe. So letting Brocky go for effectively nothing, because they'd be absorbed for a Will McCabe bid. I know this might sound complicated to some, but I think we'd be looking at a future second from the Eagles, hopefully, and if they're still as bad as they are this year, a future pick 20 for Brockies, look, could be worse.
It's more than okay. It's more than okay.
For sure. All right, we're going to put the Melbourne game behind us now. Hawks fans, so get involved with your Fremantle questions, thoughts, and all those good things, mate. The thing that stands out for me when it comes to the Dockers is they got 2 pretty damn decent mids in there that Finn is going to blanket one of them. But one of the more disappointing teams this year, the Dockers, won a final, massive comeback against the Bulldogs that I don't remember a whole lot of for reasons that don't need to be spoken about on tonight's live stream. But it did involve a good friend of mine, Jim, a good man, Jim. Yeah, very, very good man. But got smacked by the Pies a little bit around the footy and just haven't really gotten out of first gear this year, mate.
Yeah, well, interesting you mentioned. I actually I did a ladder predictor in about round 6, and I actually had Fremantle finishing 7th. So I did expect some big things from them this year. The season obviously hasn't panned out the way they would want, but on their day, they're still a really dangerous team. They give us a hiding when I'm pretty sure we've played them in Perth. Yeah,
Yep.
they gave us a hiding when we went over there. Yeah, probably round, I think by sort of rounds, just maybe slightly before or slightly after. So, yeah, they're a good side on their day. And like you said, there's going to be potentially one or two opponents that Finn's going to need to match up on. And, mate, with his current track record, I'm backing him.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And considering that last year Andy Brayshaw was top 5 in the Brownlow, I expect Caleb Sarong to be top 5 in this one as well. And if Freo had won more games, who knows how that could have gone. But, yeah, we've got a couple that have said Brayshaw. We've got a couple that have said Sarong. It's going to be really interesting because Josh Kelly, who Finn's tagged in the past, more of your outside player. The Bulldogs, we saw Libba be his initial tag, so I'm going to use him in this example. And Oliver, you have your more inside mids. And Finn's done both extraordinarily well, mate. So Sam Mitchell's given us nothing effectively to go on here. No past that'll help us predict the future. So do you have a number one out of those two that you'd send him to?
Mate, honestly, it's probably toss a coin. If I had to lean, I might be going Sarong. Mate, I honestly think there's a chance that there's stages of the game where he could line up on either one of them and potentially, move across. But yeah, probably Sarong if I had to pick, but it's a toss of a coin for me.
Yeah, no, I reckon it could interchange throughout the game. I think you're right. It could be like a Libba Bailey Dale situation where it's just clamped down one, the other one's getting away from us. Swap them over. Beautiful. Geez, how's this for a little bit of a scoreline from Tommy here? That's my goodness, Tom. That's Timmy levels of optimism, which is
that's more than Timmy. It's more than Timmy.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, absolutely. Denver kicking forward behind Nash, 40 touches and 18 tackles. That's a footy that's just following you, mate.
Yeah, don't know how he's going to get 18 tackles if they're only going to score 2 goals for the game. But anyway, well, that means they're not touching the ball much. But that's all right. Yeah. I like it.
Well, if there's one team that would chip the ball around in their back half and soak up time just to kick 2 goals for, it's Freo.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong.
And that's why you captain Luke Ryan in your fantasy in this week, because he's due for 32 and 16 marks, but he's got about 80 metres gained in him. Big Lukey boy, my goodness. Connor Nash, mate, will probably look to line up on one of them at the centre bounce. It does suck a little bit that Jaeger probably won't be playing. He's got a calf injury, didn't get through training today, I should say. Saw a report today, which would be a shame. But I think this might be one of the more free games our midfield's got, mate. Like we said, even if we do play our best 22, we've got to experiment with a few things. I don't think that would be a random tag from someone who's not Finn, so that would be fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens on the weekend, whether they do want to experiment or not. But, mate, I would like to get the win. I did say before, you can experiment, but with a lot of the media attention at the start of the year, that we're going to be wooden spooners and we're going to get worse. And if we could tie last year, I think that would be a huge success for us. So I would like to see us come out on top this week. And at the G. We know Freo, going to struggle over here. We've been pretty good this year at home. Ran a few sides, Melbourne, obviously beat Collingwood, beat Brisbane there, ran Richmond within a point. We've been pretty good there. So let's hope we can finish the season on a high.
Mate, absolutely. I'm looking forward to it in a big, big way. All right, let's get to some predictions. Hawks fans, what are we thinking? Margin, best on ground, throw it all in there, leading goal kicker. I'm waiting on everything. If the Finn thing is working, just send him out to cause carnage. Yeah, that works. I'm cool with that. Finn's got his role and he's executing it beautifully. I'm looking forward to seeing how many teams try to replicate that as the year goes on. And after what Simon Goodwin said, mate, if James Harmes is playing finals footy, I'm going to crack the absolute sads because that's just copycat, I reckon.
Does Cozzy play? Brooke? Oh, yeah, good question. Cozzy's actually one player we can talk about. Cozzy, thoughts on his last month?
Good enough. Good enough. I think if I can adopt an American phrase here, if we were talking about a depth chart, he's third for mine, behind Lewis and Ryan. What does that say about a guy older than him but came through the mid-season draft. I'm not sure, but I think as an insurance piece for a year, I don't mind it, depending on what we sort of do in the draft. I don't think we're going to get Archer Reed in this draft as much as I would love him. I don't think he's going to slip to that pick in the 30s. So I think we keep Cozzy for another year, and it really is make or break for him, because there's going to be a couple of tall forwards apparently in this next draft that are going to be quite exciting that won't be academy kids, and so which would be really nice that everyone's up for grabs.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, I've been one of his harsher critics, maybe the only person, maybe you're talking Hawks anyway, that's more of a harsher critic might be Smid, but yeah, I've been pretty harsh against him at times, but I've really liked what I've seen from him in his last few games. If he can show a bit of that next year, and as you said, it's going to be make or break. He's going to need a good year next year to solidify it. But hey, stranger things have happened. He's shown potential, and his hands have looked really good. So if he can convert a bit more, and yeah, absolutely, let's ride out next year. But yeah, he's considering where he was 10 weeks ago, I'm a bit more optimistic about it.
Yeah, I like it, and you got to remember, a guy like Dylan Moore saved his career based on the last game of the season.
Yep.
In the Gold Coast game in Adelaide during the bubble, mate, he was gone. He was gone. Put up a really good performance. Was the last bloke on the list. He's now vice captain. Anything can happen. Godric, I just missed your comment, but Sicily 15 intercept marks. I mean, if you're going to break a record in an AFL game, do it by 50%, because 10 is the record. So 15 would be awesome, would be fantastic. And considering that there's a record in the AFL, mate, which is the intercept marking record with 10, like I mentioned, that is co-owned by 7 players. Someone has to beat it and stand on their own.
And he's a good chance to do it, I tell you that.
Absolutely is, because without Jai Miss, not a whole lot going on tall forward. Stylings by the Dockers, Hawks by 44. Justin Longmuir to congratulate Finn on stopping Sarong. That would be awesome. Workhorse for Cozzy, I completely agree. But let's get to your prediction, mate. What have you got for us? Margin, winner, and we'll save best on ground for probably the last thing that we do. But winner and margin, please. And are you going?
I'm not. I was trying to get work off to go, but I was unable to do so. So I won't be going. But I will
have to be
watching
dead
it.
to be stiff, mate.
Yeah, I will be watching it closely at work. Yeah, Hawks win for me. I'm going to go 24 points. 4 or 5 goals. I think the MCG is a big tick for us against a side like Freo. We're probably a 3 or 4 goal better side than them at the G. So that's what I'm going to say. We're going to win by. Yeah, close until 3/4 time. We'll pull away and tie our 8 wins from last year.
Now, I logged on tonight and I was thinking I'm going to have to be the pessimistic one in the room and think that the Dockers might get us. Their recent form's been okay. I thought they were pretty good against Port at home. And then I chucked this on. And then I saw you in the beanie and the scarf. And I've listened to the fans. And lids off. Hawks 8 goals. This is going to be absolutely awesome. We are going to absolutely crush the Purple Haze on Sunday on the weekend, mate. I'm looking forward to it in a big, big way. And we're getting the job done. That's it. Will Day's going to be BOG. He's going to kick a couple. He's going to have 35. It's extraordinary. The lid is off.
You've pulled out your BOG when you told me not to. That's how.
No, but I've done it. And look. The purple lights behind me even went out when I started talking about them. Not even the office has got faith in this mob at the moment. So, lids off. Nick, I'm with you.
Yeah, we'd love it. We'd love it. No, I think we're a real good chance. As good a chance as any at the G. Saturday early game.
Yep, Saturday early game. Now, I'll let you go first, mate, because I don't want to spoil mine. But who are you thinking for BOG?
Don't want to spoil. You just told us.
That's what makes my jokes funny, mate. When you explain them to people, that's what really gets the ribs tickled. No, that's okay.
Can I say Will Day then?
No.
No. I'm gonna go. I'll go Newcomb if providing I assume he's coming back into the side. I'm gonna go Newcomb.
Yeah, should be right.
Yep.
Should be right. And yeah, big Wilbur for mine. The lid is off. Hawks fans, thank you for joining us. Apologies for the technical difficulties getting up, but geez, you've been extraordinary tonight. 3 votes for the 2 of you. And Mitch, because you got the 2 bits of paraphernalia on, mate, you can get the 2 votes for tonight. You've been extraordinary fans. We can't wait to come to you live next Wednesday for the fallout of round 24. And we'll have plenty going on in the off-season. Hope you can get to the game. If not, hope you can watch it live. It is going to be awesome. Cannot wait for the fallout of this one and the end of the season with our 8th win. Mitch, thanks for jumping on. Fans, thank you for jumping on. We will see you very soon. And as always here, go the Hawks.